Are the Celtics looking to move up in the draft? Are the Spurs really trying to make a move for Jaylen Brown? Now, we're going to dump on these silly rumors during a quiet part of the offseason right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Beantown, be ever ready. It's the C's. Who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT, Karalis. We kept the madness every game, every practice. Primetime Depp and D White on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked On Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every day. Your team's the Boston Celtics, and I talk about them Monday through Friday, even during this very quiet time for the Celtics. So make sure you're subscribed, watch the show on YouTube, get into the comment section, share your thoughts there with me, John Karalis, beat writer covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. And I've been doing this job for about 20 years. So I have a very deep knowledge of the Celtics. Hopefully that comes through in what I'm about to say. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Later on, we're recording this on June 17th, 6/17, which is, of course, the anniversary of the Celtics championship, actually the last two championships. But it's been a year since the Celtics were celebrating a championship. So we'll look back on that later on in the third segment. We're going to spend the first two segments talking about these rumors, some Kevin Durant stuff, Jaylen Brown and the Spurs, the Celtics moving up in the draft. And I've got my fellow curmudgeon today. We're just the two angry Muppets in the balcony. We're just pointing and laughing and being just jerks about these rumors coming up. It's Tom Westerholm, everybody.
Get off my lawn. Yeah.
This is a very get off my lawn because look, this is a very dead period for the Boston Celtics. People, they're an airtight organization. Nothing comes out unless it's coming out from somebody else, or if they have any sort of calculated need to put something out. But they're not just chatting us up and being like, yeah, we're thinking about this, we're thinking about that. Shh, don't tell anybody. So people are getting second-hand, third-hand, fourth-hand kind of telephone game stuff where other teams are like, oh yeah, the Celtics gave us a call. They're kind of interested. So it's like Celtics show interest in blah blah blah. So it's easy because there's not much going on, to see a headline because everybody is obligated to continue. We have jobs. We have a job to do. I have to put out a podcast, and I have to write on Boston Sports Journal, and so we're all putting something out there. So, but we can't just have all of it just existing all in unequal terms, right? Like we can't just give everything that's, oh yeah, well today it's nothing going on, so you're going to get 3 hours of conversation. Like, no, we're trying to stomp on these rumors and put them to bed. So
yeah,
you got your grape stomping boots on.
Yeah. No, for sure. I'm listen. I mean, it's such a funny time of year because it is. It like there's nothing much out there, and so we are going to make something out of nothing, I guess. So,
we're going to take all the nothing and we're going to tell you why it's nothing, and hopefully entertain you for 30 minutes as we tell you why it's nothing.
Let's do it.
So the first rumor, I don't even know where it's from, but the Celtics are among the teams looking to trade up in the draft.
Yeah.
That is very unlikely to happen. I can't say, like, there's always the possibility that there's something, hidden deep in a kernel of like, maybe somebody somewhere had a conversation with the Celtics and they're like, well, we'd do this if you gave us this pick, you know? But are the Celtics actively looking to move up in the draft? Highly doubt that. For a variety of reasons, including they're trying to get cheaper, not more expensive. And once you get down to a certain point, a lot of these guys are very similar. So they're not moving into the top 10. Who are you trading to get into the top 10? No one from this team is going to get you a top 10 pick, a top 5 pick in this year's draft. Nobody. Right? Well, I mean,
we'll get it. We'll get to one of them who could theoretically, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I think also the Celtics just kind of generally don't trade up. You know, I mean, I can't.
I couldn't remember the last time they did.
Like you would have to have I mean, I think. You know, you can look back on okay, I mean, there was the attempt to get Justice Winslow, right? That everybody makes fun of.
Yeah.
I mean, that was where apparently Danny came out afterward and was that got kind of crazy. I don't know.
Yeah.
About all that.
Critical turning point in Danny Ainge's career.
Yeah.
I believe. Totally.
Yeah, 100%. But the Celtics just generally don't look to move up. They usually seem to have a pretty good evaluation of okay, we think this guy is good value here. We think this guy is good value here. They, I mean, the other thing they do too is they trade their picks to get guys. And I think, I think if you're looking at the Celtics and you're okay, the Celtics are trying to move up in the draft, I think at that point you're probably looking at something that's a little bit bigger picture, right? You're looking at something that's okay, maybe the Celtics did try to get into the top 10, but they did it by making a bigger move, a really franchise altering kind of move that might save them money. Cause you're right. You don't want to go into this draft and tie yourself down with a bunch of guaranteed money when one of the primary focuses, the primary focus of your offseason is getting guys in who can play, but also save you money. So yeah, I mean, it's just seems kind of unlikely from a holistic point, but also just from the fact that that isn't generally how this team operates. They don't usually kind of move up like that.
Here's where I can see some level of this. Celtics and Utah brought this up with, Austin Ainge going over there. Utah has the 21st pick from Minnesota. Celtics send Drew Holiday and the 28th pick to Utah in some package that returns them the 21st pick.
Sure.
That could be part of, is that looking to trade up? No, they're not actively saying we need to move up in the draft, but could they make a deal where we need, we're looking to make this deal specifically because we're trying to move up. I can see the Celtics trying to throw their pick into the mix for Drew Holiday or Sam Hauser in a first round pick to, I don't know, New Orleans to move up to 23.
Yeah.
That, I can see that kind of stuff happening. But that is not Celtics are actively trying to move up in the draft. I think it's they're trying to make other deals, and hey, if we can get this value out of it, then okay, sure. And I see a big difference there.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think that the Celtics are looking to necessarily go pursue, Cedric Coward or whatever. I don't think that's what they're. I don't think that. I think that it would be, like you said, a much more of hey, if we, if we make this move, that can get us into a range where, I mean, from what I understand, again, I've said this before, this is not this year has not been my my usual deep dive on draft prospects. I mean, but it does seem like there is once you get out of a certain segment of the draft, it's going to dry up for sure. The prospects, once you get to a certain level, or really start to dry up. So maybe hey, I mean, if you can save yourself some money and you can get yourself into the range where the good, the decent players are, that's great. That's, that's when we were talking about ways that you could win some of these trades that are kind of unwinnable, getting yourself a decent prospect and saving yourself money. That'd be incredible. That would be really good work.
Right.
But again, it's the two things, right? Where it's get yourself a prospect and save yourself money. The latter is the one that is the
right. And we do have to, like I said, we have to take into account that these are all pre-slotted salaries, and moving up 5 spots makes that player more expensive. And you have to take that into consideration if you're looking to cut money. And is the guy you're getting at 20 going to be so much better than the guy at 28 that you're willing to pay the extra, I don't know, what is it, couple $1 million at that point? It's meaningful to the Celtics. And so that's why I really don't think trading up makes much sense unless they're dead set on a very specific guy and they have to do it in that moment. And maybe they save a Sam Hauser potential deal in, for draft night just in case. But
yeah,
I don't see it. I don't see the Celtics moving up. The only other thing I'll say with this one is Coward has to go to Philly just so we can start yelling "shoot a three, you coward," and having it mean something. So
yeah, no, you're right.
Come on,
it's done and done. Number 3 pick. They have it. They got to use it.
They got to use it. You have to. That's the rule. I don't care where he is in the mock draft. You have to take him third. The San Antonio Spurs are picking second. And here's another rumor we're going to shoot down. San Antonio and Jaylen Brown. Come on. Or maybe not. That's coming up next. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like going to a live sporting event, whether it's a playoff basketball game, whether it's a baseball game, nice, beautiful weather, whatever it is, you got to take in that live atmosphere. And you can do it on Game Time with killer last minute deals. They give you panoramic seat views, no surprise fees. Game Time's a total game changer. I've used Game Time many times, so I cannot take advantage of the deal that I'm giving you right here, but I have used it. I've gotten great tickets. I've seen exactly what I'm going to see, what the view is for my seat. It's been perfect. I know the Game Time guarantee gives me the best deal because if I can find that ticket somewhere else, they'll for less, they'll credit me 110% of the difference. So whatever it is, if you want NFL tickets coming up, you can find great seats for as low as $100 thanks to exclusive discounts. They're authentic, 100% authentic tickets. They arrive right away on time. So check it out. Download that Game Time app. Create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account. Redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA Game Night, covering the NBA Finals, covering the OKC Thunder going up 3-1, previewing the next game. I'll be there on Thursday night after Game 6, maybe talking about a championship, maybe talking about heading to a Game 7. But I'll be there with Jake Madison of Locked On Pelicans, so make sure you're subscribed to that podcast. All right, Tom. The next rumor is that it's not even a rumor. The San Antonio Spurs are keeping an eye. They are observing. Well, I don't even know what the exact term is. Just monitoring the Jaylen Brown situation. So, okay. So let's start with this. Isn't every other GM monitoring? I said this in yesterday's podcast. GMs monitor the potential trades of star players all over the league. Brad Stevens is monitoring the Kevin Durant situation. They're doing background work. They're doing their due diligence. Sure they are. Of course they are, because that's their job. That's like saying, sources, John Karalis is preparing graphics for his next podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure. And I think, there is the implication, right, that it's like, okay, if it, like that it goes slightly beyond that, right? I think that is the implication of like, okay, especially, with a team like the Spurs where it's like, okay, if they put together a package for Jaylen Brown, I'm not saying that the Celtics would do it or even consider it, but at least the Spurs could put together a compelling package for Jaylen Brown, right? Like you could build something interesting there. And the Celtics, I think to your point, right? I think the Celtics would probably turn that down. I think that the Celtics have bigger plans. I think, there's times that it would make more sense to trade Jaylen Brown than right now. But if you're the Spurs and you said, okay, we have the number 2 pick in this loaded draft, there's Castle, there's guys on this roster that are at the least interesting enough to make a call where the Celtics probably don't just throw their phone out the window. Like, there's some stuff there that you could at least ponder for a little bit. That said, it's also an extremely easy rumor to have out there and then oh, well, they monitored it. They decided not to,
right.
Move on. Right. Like it's a I don't know, very empty calories kind of rumor. You're not getting a ton of vitamin C out of that one.
No, right. They let's see here. I'm just looking at potential deals. I'm trying to grab Devin Vassell, trying to get Stephon Castle. That it doesn't work. Celtics, Spurs are just, you have to find a third team maybe.
Yeah.
But hey, if you want to send Devin Vassell, Stephon Castle in the second pick to Boston, hey, at least Brad Stevens will be like, well, okay, well, let's
That's
talk
what I'm
about
saying.
this.
You're not, like I said, you're not throwing your phone out the window for that deal. Like you're taking a look at that one and being like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, look, it would make, and obviously that a deal like that would make a lot of sense for the Spurs, right? Like that's a team that, I mean, if I'm the Spurs, I'm ready to start charging whenever everybody, Wemby's going to be really good at his size. How long? You never know. Start getting good as soon as possible. But
I mean, there is a fear when you're 7'4" and 210 pounds and you play on the perimeter like that you're going to get. I mean, he's been durable.
Yeah.
He's been he hasn't had any problems
constantly. I mean, there's, all those reports on just the stuff that he does. It's crazy. I mean, I think there's no reason to think that he's unhealthy other than the physical proportions.
Other than the being that size with the leg bones being as big as they are, that puts a ton of torque on the knee. And then, there's always a risk. You're just putting a little bit more stress on the joints, the lower leg joints and tendons and all of that stuff. And that, it's, you can't discount that. So, I mean, would they find a deal for Kevin Durant and, that doesn't involve any of these guys, and then they turn around and trade these guys to Boston and be like, hey, let's pry Jaylen Brown and, we'll give you the second round pick, these guys, and, your pick back later and a couple other things. Is it out of the question? No, it's not out of the question because nothing's out of the question at this point. But are the Celtics looking to, you have to, the reason why I bring this up to to stomp it out is it doesn't, the Celtics aren't looking to do something like this. Yeah. They're trying to be a champion this year one more time. They're trying to win one more title. And unless they get absolutely floored by an offer, they're like, okay, we got to do this. Pop's gotten into the wine. He's 2 bottles in and we got to do this before he sobers up. Then fine. Then I get it. Then you have to pivot. There's always, no matter how much I sit there and say these rumors are meaningless, there is somebody that could give the Celtics a deal where they do trade up. There is somebody that they could get a deal that could trade for Jaylen Brown. But it's unlikely. And I think the Celtics are going to go with what has worked. And that is keeping Jaylen and Derek White and all of that stuff. And then figuring it out. Maybe trade deadline's a different story. So
until then, everybody's monitoring,
Everybody's monitoring. Yeah. Right. Everybody's monitoring. Kevin Durant. Everybody's monitoring Kevin Durant, who, oh my God, he also had interest in the Celtics. Or not, or who knows? You can't tell anymore with these guys. But Kevin Durant's not coming to Boston. Can we officially stomp that out? Like, there's
No, I think he's coming.
okay.
I think it's happening. Aggregate that.
Tom Westerholm reports 2 over the second apron teams.
Yeah.
You cannot, there's no matching. You can't bring in more than you send out. So it's impossible to match those salaries. It's not happening for the Celtics. So, you can't do it. You can't make it happen. And so that's it. It's just not happening. Now, cut to Monday's show where Kevin Durant is here. Jaylen Brown is in San Antonio, and the Celtics have moved up to get the second round pick, the second pick. And everybody looks at me and is like, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, which people say now anyway. Let's end this thing.
That would be a pretty good scenario for the Celtics. If you could come out of this summer with the number 2 pick and Kevin Durant, pretty good. I think they should do that myself.
Hey, okay, sure. It has been 1 year since the Celtics have the Celtics won their championship. A year ago tonight, a year ago right now, I was
yesterday when you guys were listening to this.
A year ago, as I record this right now, it is 9:14 p.m.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there at TD Garden watching the Celtics start to build a lead and eventually run away with this. Let's just take 10 minutes to reminisce. It's happy 6/17, happy 6/17. We'll do that when we come back. All right, this is the time of the show where I get a little bit thirsty, so I'm going to grab myself one of these Olippops here, and there we go. This one is classic grape. This is legit. I'm tasting this for the first time. Okay, that's legit. That is really good. That's like a natural reaction, too. Only 45 calories. This classic grape. Something, you even want a grape soda. This is a legit grape soda that is, it supports digestive health, has prebiotics, botanicals, plant fiber. I mean, this is good stuff for a guy like me who's just getting back into the gym. If I want a soda, an Olipop is a great idea. Regular sodas loaded with sugar, 39 grams in a regular Coke, 44 grams in an orange Fanta. Olipop flips the script with just a fraction of the sugar, no artificial sweeteners, gut-friendly ingredients like All Smart, a blend shown to support digestive and overall health. It's a soda that tastes like the real thing, but actually does something good for your body. So, like I said, it's sweet. It's sweet without really any sugar in there. 4 grams of added sugar as opposed to 44. That's incredible. Like I said, for only 45 calories, this is something that you can feel good about drinking, and you want something with flavor. I know we got to stay hydrated and water is the best and all this, but sometimes you want something with flavor. This Olipop classic grape is legit, man. So get a free can. You can go to the store, buy 2 cans, and then Olipop will reimburse you for one of those. So get one for you, get one for a friend, or I'm telling you, you're going to want to drink both of these. Go to drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA. That's drinkolipop, OLIPOP.com/LockedOnNBA. Claim your free can and find Olipop near you. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA Big Board with Rafael Barlow. He's got you covered on for everything you need draft-wise. Locked On NBA Big Board. Make it your second listen after you're done with this show. Okay, Tom. It's been a year. I feel like, honestly, this championship has been one of the most underappreciated championships in recent memory. I feel like with so many people along the way just crapping all over the Celtics for their easy path. And then Tatum wins and everybody gets on him for like sounding like, other celebrations. And then the Celtics come back and immediately there's nitpicking, Celtics fans nitpicking, all of that stuff. And they clearly this season ended in disappointment. and that's neither here nor there. It was as part of this discussion. I don't know. I feel like every other championship that I've seen the Celtics win, these guys have been revered and kind of held up to a certain standard. Like, you are champs. And I don't feel like that happened. I feel like the Celtics won a championship and everything just kind of went right back to normal. No discussion has changed about Tatum. No discussion has changed about Jaylen Brown. Where is that level of, like, I don't know, reverence for what these guys accomplished?
Yeah, I mean, I think how much of that though is just a product of the times, right? Like the media environment that we live in, right? Like, you look at, okay, so Stephen A. Smith is calling Giannis Antetokounmpo an underachiever, and
Yeah.
it's like the man won a title. Like that used to
Yeah.
mean something. You know what I mean? Like it used to really like stamp you. Like that was you okay, you did it. You won a title. And like, you could like extra stamp yourself and you could really put yourself in rarefied air if you win 2 or 3 or whatever. But like you win one, you've won one. Dirk Nowitzki won one title. And yeah, very deservedly. It's like a Dallas Mavericks legend and will always be a Dallas Mavericks legend because he won one title. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, to me, it's like, I think that way of Tatum and Jaylen. And I think most Celtics fans do too, to an extent, right? Like, I think if you poll most Celtics fans, it's like, hey, do you have positive feelings about Jayson Tatum? Do you think that he's, an all-time Celtics great? Most Celtics fans are gonna be like, yeah, obviously. Like, run down the numbers, and then also he won a title. And, look at what winning one title did for Paul Pierce and Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett. Like, one title is enough. You want more. Like, it's not enough for the players. The players are like, no, I want to win every single game, every single championship, every single year. But like, in terms of getting yourself like stamped as a champion in Boston, it does that. And I think like I don't know. I just think so much of that comes down to like the media environment and this rush to like this rush to I mean, I don't know. You sound like you really sound like a curmudgeon when you start saying stuff like generate clicks. They're just trying to get clicks. But it's like, yeah, people
It's
are.
true though. It's true.
And it waters down the discourse about guys that shouldn't be watered down. Like, these guys are great. Right. They're champions. They're like, 6'17". They proved all that.
This is a good point, because I think you look at the biggest star on ESPN is Stephen A. Smith. I mean, he's such a big star on ESPN. They're talking about him running for president, which is outrageous, just outrageous. And
running for president, things of that nature.
Yes, but like, he has mastered the art of going out there and just saying stuff in a way that gets reactions. It's very, he's Howard Stern. He's, Don Imus. He's the sports version of those guys that just, you're geared towards getting reactions. And what really bugs me is the way it has shaped the coverage, because I watch halftime of these finals games, and it's Stephen A. Smith and Perk just kind of yelling at each other, trying to make outrageous points. And you're like, there's no one sitting there talking about what's actually happening in the game. There's no one sitting there breaking down key plays and being like, the reason why Oklahoma City is doing this is because they're attacking here and they're doing this. Like, no one's doing that stuff that you see on NFL broadcasts. You see it on NHL broadcasts. You see it on Major League Baseball broadcasts. Why is the NBA the one sport where everybody just like yell, 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 take? And it does. It waters down what the Celtics accomplished, because the whole way people are just trying to suck the joy out of it. Be like, well, you beat that team, but they didn't have this guy. Oh, you beat that team, but they didn't have this guy. You beat that team. Are they going to say that about Oklahoma City? Tyrese Halliburton has a strained calf.
Yeah, they probably will, right? But like, I always come back to this, and this is definitely like, I'm getting some really old man yelling at cloud type stuff here. But it's like, you don't have to listen to those people. Yes, thank you, I needed that. you don't have to listen to these people. Like, you can just exist in, like, you don't have to listen to, you don't have to take Stephen A. Smith's stuff seriously. You don't have to think that Giannis is an underachiever just because somebody on TV said it. Like, and I think a lot of NBA fans know that and don't take this stuff seriously. And it's just, it's easy to get sucked into talking about it, right? I mean, like look at us right now, right? Like we're having a conversation about it. But I just think, like, it's a shame, right? Because it does generate, reactions. It generates strong reactions, and that's an art form, absolutely. But it makes the way that we watch sports a little worse, and that's a shame because, like, I don't know. I think that this team deserves to be talked about 100%, maybe even more so, but very much so the same way that the 2008 team deserved to be talked about. They're such a similar thing where it's like these guys worked and grinded and like stuck with it until they won a title. And like, that was what made Paul Pierce such a great Celtic. Is like, I mean, he wanted to leave, but he was with the Celtics for a long time and eventually won a title, and that meant something. And the same thing is true of these guys. And I think if you can, like, as a fan, I don't know, this same way where I'm like, hey, make sure you enjoy this team, last year, because like the greatness is happening right now. Make sure you enjoy this right now. I would say the same thing now, right? Where it's like, hey, don't let the way that the game is covered cloud what this team meant. This team meant a lot, means a lot. Like, this is a really meaningful group of players within the history of a very meaningful franchise, and they should be remembered as such. And hey, the cool thing is, like, as a fan, you get to choose how you remember it. I would encourage people to remember it like that, not the way that somebody yelling on TV tells you to think about it.
Right. Because these guys, they followed this path where it should be celebrated.
Yeah.
They were drafted. They had their ups, their downs. They had it started out with the Gordon Hayward broken foot, broken ankle, and the Kyrie years, and you had to recover from the Kyrie years. Then you had the Kemba years, and you couldn't quite get over the hump with the Kemba years. And then they turned to themselves, and it was just the Jaylen and Jayson years. It's like they've gone through 3 iterations of Celtics teams, all with a common thread, but it was only fairly recently that it was Jaylen and Jayson, and those guys are just getting into their prime. I think part of this is these guys start so young that they've been around forever. And you're like, God, it's been 6 years. When are you going to win a championship? Larry Bird won it in 2 years or something like that, 3 years. And you're like, it's just not the same. These guys worked, failed, got up, dusted themselves off, figured it out, had a crazy circumstance with their coach, and got up, dusted themselves off, and they worked through it, and they won a championship. They went to a finals.
They had multiple crazy circumstances with the coach. Incidentally, Brad Stevens leaving and just joining the front office, and still being, that's weird too.
Yeah. And so, like, all of that stuff, they have gone through a lot. They've persevered through a lot in a short amount of time, and they finally broke through. And yeah, it's tough to repeat. Teams don't repeat very often. I thought they were going to, but it's tough. These guys are being like, they've accomplished something that very few players can accomplish. And it's one of my peeves is that they're just not held. I don't think universally. There are plenty of Celtics fans who are like very much like, yes, this is a championship team. I was lucky enough to write a book and people buy it. So there's people like consuming that stuff, but it's just not as universal. Like I just don't see that love. Maybe it's a Boston Celtics thing. Maybe they're just people who are like, the Celtics are one of those teams that people love to hate. So they're never going to get their full credit, but I just don't think these guys get their full credit. And I kind of wish that there was a little bit more of that, because what they did was hard. And injuries to other players, other teams, whatever, doesn't matter. What they did was hard, and they did it, for a franchise that expects this, and they finally made that happen. And there's a lot of players, a lot of great players who only have one or they had none. So,
yeah,
like how can a guy like Charles Barkley, like they joke about it all the time, but Charles Barkley, I'm sorry, I grew up in that era. Charles Barkley was so damn good. And just circumstances, man. Circumstances. You had Michael Jordan he had to get through. Like, sometimes it just doesn't, you don't break through. These guys broke through, and it's like, I feel like there's more with this team than there should be.
Yeah. No, I agree. But again, you get to choose how you react to it.
Yeah.
And I think Celtics fans should choose to be like, wow, this is an all-time team, because it is.
It is. All right. Tom, thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, appreciate you, man.
All right. And I appreciate all of you, everybody here who's sticking with this show Monday through Friday. If you're an everydayer, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here. It does mean a lot to me because I'm trying to get you podcasts on a daily basis. We're doing Monday through Friday, all through June, all through July. There's going to be more stuff. There's going to be actual news to talk about, but still trying to give you Celtics content and keep you entertained and keep you informed and spark some discussions for you. So if you're still with me at this point, thank you so much. It really does mean a lot. If you're new, I hope you become an everydayer. I hope you join me every Monday through Friday because that's what I'm here Monday through Friday. So subscribe, get into the YouTube page, get into the comment section, share your thoughts with me, with everybody about all the stuff we've talked about, and then share the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.